So why is polarization happening in so many different countries at the same time? Even though there's such different countries, whether it's Brazil, or Sweden, or Israel, or India. Well, in the first place, ever since 2008 and the global financial crisis, a lot of countries have been under socioeconomic stress. In Brazil, citizens became very angry in 2013, 14, 15 over corruption in the country. And they were frustrated by the level of corruption in the Brazilian political elite and also by economic problems at the time. And along came a politician in 2017, 18 who said, I have an answer. The answer is we have to just smash that old elite. For years, the heavy level of patronage and, in fact, corruption in the Brazilian system kind of led politicians to buy into kind of centrist politics. Everyone wanted a piece of it. And it wasn't very helpful to be purely in opposition because then you didn't get a piece of the pie. And so politicians were co-opted into the system. But when the corruption reaches a certain level where the system itself is rotten, corruption is just dripping with corruption, citizens get very angry. And they say, like, wait a minute, you're stealing all this. This whole system is a system of theft. There is something about politics in the 21st century that people seem to be looking in a post-material way for meaning in their lives. They seem to feel a lot of sense of fragmentation and kind of alienation from their institutions. Suddenly we're asking our political systems to provide an identity for us and to provide a sense of belonging. In 2018-19, once Bolsonaro began to define a new political dynamic in Brazil of us against them, he then began to construct the identity of us. And us was a more religious Brazil. It was often more rural or a more against the establishment, against the educated elite. So he began to look for social divisions or social signs of belonging and say, if you're that kind of Brazilian, I'm your man, because that's the kind of Brazilian I am. I'm this. I hate communists. I like guns. I believe in God. I don't like all this lesbian and gay rights stuff. But then polarization destroys democratic institutions because it causes, once you're in a very polarized society, people say, if the other side comes to power, they're going to destroy our country because look what they stand for. We see President Lula struggling with this in Brazil now. He's now governing a very different society than the one he governed when he was president before, and that requires different political instincts.